All right, next question up. Do you think the sequel to the Cruella movie will be eventually canceled due to the problems in the writing or the production? That's an interesting question. And again, I apologize. I would have had CM on here to talk more about this because he has seen the Cruella film. I have not. I am waiting for it to be available on Disney Plus for free to watch the film because unfortunately I don't get paid to do any of this stuff, or I don't get early access screeners or anything like that. And the pandemic is still a thing, so I want to be sort of selective on which movies I go out and see, unfortunately. So I am still waiting to see Cruella, but, you know, we do know that The Hollywood Reporter, I believe, has reported that Cruella 2 is in development. The first movie has so far made $221 million at the box office, which is very good, by the way. Like, pandemic or not, I think that 200 million plus for Cruella is a very good number to be at right now. If it can hit 300 million, I would consider the film to be a success in the pandemic era. And even without the pandemic, I think that Cruella realistically could have made maybe $400, $500 million. I still think $300 to $350 million would be a huge win. I don't know if it's going to get there, but I just see the 200 million, and without revealing the Disney Plus numbers as well, it's a success. And so it's no surprise that the film got greenlit for a sequel. Obviously, it's been pretty well received by the critics as well. It has a 74% Rotten Tomatoes. And again, I only refer to Rotten Tomatoes because it's easy to refer to, and people know what I'm talking about. Rotten Tomatoes is not the be-all, end-all for movies and criticism, but it's still a good metric to see how many people enjoyed a film. And so Cruella, for all intents and purposes, has done remarkably well enough to get a sequel. Now, in terms of the problems with production, I don't know that much about this sort of stuff. I've heard maybe little hints here and there. I personally haven't heard a lot about these problems with production, and so I'm going to run on the assumption that there are some problems with the production, like you've been saying, Star Wars Galactic. I have no reason to doubt that you're misleading or anything like that. And what I will say about that is that it is so early in the development process, with Cruella having just come out, and just coming out like a month ago or so, but still relatively new. But I think that if there are any problems in production right now, barring anything with Emma Stone, which again, if she sues Disney, we might have some problems. But if not, I think that if there are problems in writing, I don't think that that's going to hinder anything at all. I think the writing process and the production process takes a lot more time and effort than a lot of us give it credit for. Like, I think a lot of the times we sort of think that, you know, things just sort of happen, right? The movie's just made. And I think that, honestly, with if there are any problems with production at this point, I don't suspect that they will be long-lasting. I think if you want to worry about production, look at a film like The Flash, which had entered pre-production and had been moving forward with directors, and then they lost directors, and then they changed. It's just a mess, right? And you look at a film like The Batman, though, as another example of what could happen on the other side of that spectrum. The Batman had just a horrible pre-production with Ben Affleck leaving and then Matt Reeves coming in, and Ben Affleck leaving as the character and as the director. But honestly, they also obviously had a horrible production with the pandemic as well. But at the end of the day, they made it work. And I think that it looks like they've made just a fantastic film. So production, I would not worry at this point about any production mishaps or anything that's going on, is what I will say about that. All right. We have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 more questions. I think we'll be able to actually get them all good and ready to go by the end of this podcast. So again, just a mid-podcast reminder, if you want to fill out the Google form, have an entire episode dedicated to you like we have here with Star Wars Galactic, feel free to do so. It won't take any time, and your name will be shouted out on the podcast. Anyways, let's move on to the next question.